5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Is it Tuesday? Is it St. Patrick's Day? Is it an interesting time for us to be on the radio, on the internet, on Facebook Live, YouTube Live? Let me send a little message here. All right. Isn't it an interesting time to be having a conversation? You know, last week we had a good conversation, meaningful conversation. I told you about the little, not the little, I don't want to minimize it with that word. The incident that I had getting hit by a truck. And of course that's, caused a lot of things. And some reflection, some conversation, all the good things that, sometimes these life events, whether we plan them or not, cause you to reflect on. But now, we're going to have a short conversation today because obviously, for reasons unbeknownst to you, I'm here 30 minutes late. So we'll have a little short conversation. Maybe I'll keep it going throughout the day, just coming in, jumping in and talking about a couple of things, maybe on Facebook Live. It's a whole lot going on. Everybody's world right now. And I don't want to say is upside down, but I think we can safely say without fear of contradiction that it's intuitively obvious to the untrained eye that life is a little bit different right now. We're dealing with this aspect of what's happening with the coronavirus throughout the world. And I actually took some time to do that and looked to see the reported impact of countries all over the world. I saw some interesting things there. So whether this is still a democratic hoax or whether it is a manufactured bioweapon from China and Russia, whatever tinfoil hat that you have, I've got several, right? But whatever tinfoil hat that you have, whatever conspiracy, whatever fear, whether, whatever you think. Once again, we have something, and I want to talk as I want to do from time to time. We'll talk about what can we do with this, right? Because obviously, no matter what our slant or view, bias, whatever it is that we're bringing to this conversation, the reality is we're all having to deal with it. And so the question is, how will we deal with it? How will I deal with it? What's going to be the impact? We cannot, it would be sad if something as significant as this is, no matter how significant it is. I mean, my wife is full in on this is what all the zombie apocalypse movies were about, right? And that was our training ground. And this is, and she's telling me, it works better when you isolate the healthy. And, and I'm, I don't do zombie movies and I don't, I think, whatever. But, so I've got my own theories about, if this were to, continue to go in the wrong direction, what would need to be done. And certain people are impacted more than other people in warmer climates, all of those types of things. But none of that matters. None of that at this point is neither here nor there. Here's what I do know. For the foreseeable weeks, possibly, our children aren't going to school. For the foreseeable weeks, there are no sports to watch, maybe months on television, or games to go to. So much so that I saw something on the internet, just a little side note. I saw a marble race. Someone, did you see this? If you didn't see it, go check it out. Go check it out on the interwebs. It's out there. I think they called it Mega One Marble or Formula Marble or something. I'll if I take a break, I'll Google it and let you know. But it was this downhill race in this little dirt thing, and they had dug this trail out, and there were a couple of alternate paths, and there was probably about 50 or 60, maybe 100 marbles. You saw this, Sydney? Yeah, and so these marbles are racing, and there's like this baby blue marble that takes out from the very beginning and is leading this whole thing, and then gets past at one moment, but then resiliently comes back. And I found myself rooting against the baby blue marble because I said it must have had an advantage from the very beginning because it was already out front, and the other marbles don't have a chance, and then a couple marbles passed it up. You see what's happening? You see what's going on? The Cowboys signed a $100 million contract with Amari Cooper, one of the wide receivers. Randall Cobb is now a Houston Texan. Tom Brady is no longer a New England Patriot. Don't know where he's going yet, but he announced on Instagram he's not staying with them. And I'm talking about marbles. I'm talking about marbles rolling down a hill in a race. And it was exhilarating. And so here's my point in that. Here's where I think this conversation is taking us. My 5-year-old son is not going to be going to school anytime soon. Many people are working from home. I had booked CeeLo Green to be a celebrity guest judge. Not me, but the team I'm working with at our South by Southwest veteran pitch event to be held in Austin, Texas. The entire event, obviously, as you know, was canceled. And, these are the things that are going on. I did go to Sam's Club last night. Nobody's freaking out. Nobody's nobody was fighting in the aisles. Nobody's yelling, screaming. But it was eerie. Because as I walked down the tall, warehouse aisles that they have that are usually stacked, floor to bottom, you could see from one end of the store to the next. Because many of those aisles were empty. And so we have that part of it. Nothing I can say about the potential, I don't even think people are panicking right now. I think that there's, some behaviors, right? But I don't think people are panicking. I don't think people are freaking out. Gun sales are up. People are, buying more guns right now, just in case they have to protect theirs. And I get that. I understand. So there's one, economic stimulus sector right there, gun sales, and I would assume typically ammo goes along with that. You do have people that go out and probably buy a gun and, one box of ammo and think I'm good, but things are happening. Military bases are having to take specific precautions because they have to, and it's not even so much just protecting against coronavirus, but there has to be, a heightened maintenance of readiness for the military, because we still do live in a big world, and there are still bad players out there, and so. The good time to, punch someone in the left eyeball is when something is happening, on the right side of their life, and that's where all their focus is. So our military has to stay aware. But let's get back to us. What do we do with this? What do we do with the reality that many people aren't going to work? Yesterday, the mayor of Dallas is shutting down all restaurants, bars, gathering places. Probably going to happen here in Collin County pretty soon. I was talking to someone in one state, and the courts are shut down in this state, with the exception, I think the only thing that they're hearing cases on is domestic violence. Everything else is shut down. So mom and dad, some are going to work. Some of them can't go to work. Some of the work stay home. Talked to an Uber driver yesterday. Every Monday morning he gets up at 3 a.m., goes out to the airport because that's where he gets the most work. a whole week. Monday morning, said he didn't get one ride until 9 o'clock when he came to pick me up to take me to chiropractor. And so, like everything else, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity right now. Think about how much of our life is consumed with the hustle and bustle. I don't have time for this. I listen to audiobooks, or I think about listening to audiobooks because I don't have time to read. I don't have time to exercise. I'd like to, play with my kids more. I'd like to read to my kids more. I'd like to sit down and have conversations, but this has given us, in some ways, and time will tell. We'll look back on this and see what the impact was. But I want to look forward and kind of determine what the impact should be. If we got to slow down a little bit. Now, we still have the internet. So that's why we're having this conversation right now. So we still got the internet. So we still have access to information, to news. We're not isolated in that sense that we can't even, get information, know what's going on. There has not been a rush at Walmart and Best Buy on TV antennas because the cable's gone out and we haven't lost electricity, no shortage of water. Any of those things that which would create a whole different level of panic and rationing. But now, we actually have the situation where we do have more time on our hands. We've been told to social distance, which is not a foreign thing. It's anti my nature, right? I'm not excited about social distancing because I like social not distancing. I like the crowds. I like the masses. I like strangers. I like groups of people. Since the car accident, the number of Uber rides I've taken has gone up dramatically, obviously. I'm a couple of times I had my headphones in, I was listening to something, but other than that, I've had great conversations. Had a great conversation with a man who was born and raised in South Africa during apartheid. We had, a tremendous conversation. Sometimes, for me, the rides are too short because I'm meeting interesting people. But now we have this opportunity, and this is really the whole point, and where I'm, really taking this conversation. We have this opportunity to kind of reset. Maybe reset home. Maybe reestablish priorities. Maybe walk around the neighborhood, not necessarily hanging out with the neighbors because we're distancing, right? But maybe we can work on our vocal skills and talk 6 feet away from each other, as we pass on the sidewalk. I've been facing the reality of how much my dog who needs, exercise and attention from me, maybe we can get back into those walks, which are good for the dog and good for me, good for my blood pressure, good for our relationship, good for him to be able to obey and do the things that he's supposed to do. Cause he can't do it with all that energy. Cause, told you we went from a 2, maybe a 3 on a hot, exciting day with a 185-pound English Mastiff on the energy scale to like an 8 or 9 with an Akita. And so, he needs some social interaction. He needs some energy. He needs to stretch those legs out. And so we have kids and family, and I have a mother who is in a skilled nursing facility in Austin. And guess what? Now I can't visit her. Now I can't just drive down and go say hi. Now our relationship at this point is reduced to phone calls and FaceTime. So if we have this opportunity to reset, if we have this pregnant pause that has been given to us, the best show we've ever had was called Embrace the Suck, right? With Dan Sullivan. if we have the opportunity to embrace the reality of what we're experiencing now with the coronavirus and what it is done, um, maybe the biggest story that will come out of this, maybe the biggest impact, maybe what we will be talking about, maybe what history will say when we look back on this is not how many deaths, because I can't tell you how many deaths there were with the H1N1 virus. I know it was scary. I know it was impacting. It didn't come at us like this. It didn't shut down schools and businesses. It didn't shut down cities and restaurants. It didn't, shut down courts and cause curfews. So I don't think, a few years down the road, I don't think that we'll be talking about, I hope we're not talking about. I hope everyone doesn't remember how many deaths were caused by the coronavirus. But what I do hope is that there are, and there'll probably be, hear me now, believe me later, 40 weeks from now, there'll probably be a little bit of a baby boom, right? That's because, again, people are staying home, either a baby boom or hopefully it won't be an increase in, calls to divorce lawyers, right? Maybe we have to sit down. Maybe we have to talk. Maybe we have to do family again in a way that time has, kind of pushed us away from. We've allowed, the technology and the opportunities and the activities, because we're not taking anybody to ballet. We're not taking anybody to karate. We're not taking anybody to, church youth groups or any of those things. We're going to be home and we're going to be looking at each other. And there was already too much screen time for the kids, right? I'm sure, maybe the people who are thinking about this differently are like the Netflix and the Hulus and everyone else thinking, all right, we're going to get more binge watching in than ever before. Or maybe we say, you know what? We got an opportunity to reset, to kind of recalibrate our lives, to bring conversation back, to really focus on what's important. Because, I can probably tell you, as soon as this thing's over with, and we're able to move about freely, probably going to take a 3.5 hour drive down to Austin, go hug my mom. And you know why? Because right now I can't. It's not up to me. And that doesn't feel good. And again, things like this, and we know the demographic that this is having the most impact with as far as deaths go. But I think, and what I'm trying to see, and maybe this is where we could really focus, is that what we could really do is say, you know what? We're going to make this impact children the most in a positive way. We're going to, in some ways, wind the clock back, like even before I was born, right? And say, you know what? Let's just, we can't go out to Luby's tonight for dinner. I don't think my family even knows what a Luby's is. Maybe my wife does. We can't go out to the steakhouse. We can't go do this. We can't do that. We're going to eat more. Most of us are going to eat more meals at home over the next couple of weeks than, probably we have, many of us in months. And so now we've got an opportunity to increase the conversation, to once again, just like we talked about last week, focus on what matters the most, to zero in on the time and the relationships and the things that matter, because one, that matters. I mean, it's really what matters. No matter how much we allow life to get busy, no matter how much we allow life to get overwhelming, these are the things that matter. but it could get worse. So let's not act like that's not possible. That's not my nature to focus on, what could happen. I had someone show me all of the survival gear and prepper stuff that they ordered on the internet over the last few days. I mean, a lot of stuff, bow and arrows and new knives and all types of stuff. Those I think they call them life straws. I saw them a few years back, where basically you can just suck water out of a stream and it filters it. All of the stuff that he was buying. I mean, it could become that. We could face that. I mean, nobody thought 3 weeks ago that we would be here. Nobody thought, in January when this first started and people started talking about it in February, nobody thought schools would be shutting down. Restaurants and bars would be ordered to close. So let's not pretend there's not a possibility of, things progressing as on the continuum that they are. I hope not. But I know this, in my lifetime, the only time NBA games were canceled was when there was a strike. Same thing with NFL. I've never heard of them postponing or delaying the Kentucky Derby, the Masters, the Players Championships. Those are just the entertainment things. Those are just, the things that we use and that people make millions and millions of dollars off of. But those are, not the important things in life. But our lives have been, we can say impacted or infected or whatever with something that is bringing certain aspects of life. And we got to figure some things out. We got to pray for, all of these people that are out of work, who work by the hour, servers who make their money off tips, small businesses. I mean, that's a big part of, the things that we do, and the people that I work with are small businesses or startup businesses who, literally are ham and egg and, out there making it happen every day, just like I am. And so there's lots of things to consider that we need to be concerned about, and people that we need to be concerned about, and again, let's not even get into we're not going to get into the political ramifications of this, but this is where guess what, for all of us who like as little government as possible, and involvement, guess what, we're going to be dependent on government involvement right now. Things are a little bit socialist out there right now, right? The government's saying, we're declaring states of emergency. Government leaders have more authority over dollars and things that can, move, because this is where we need government to be, good. And for all of you out there, let me go ahead and say this for all you political extremists. Let me say this. Chill the hell out. This is absolutely the time to work together. This is the time to stop looking at, what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say. If I happen to have any politicians out there listening, get shit done. Get the right stuff done for our communities. Work together, do your job. In the time that our current politicians are in office, there may never be a more important time for you to do your job. Just like when things happen in 9/11, just like when we go to war, those sorts of things. Imperative. Do your job. This is an election year, and if you're thinking, let me give you an example, and then I'm gonna get back to the positive stuff. United States Marine Corps sent me over to little desert party, and I had, in my Marine Corps career, I had some great leaders. I had some crappy leaders. It's a reality. You're going to experience that. I had a gunnery sergeant that was there, and during part of the time, I fell under his charge, and we also had a young lieutenant that had been put in our situation, and he was under his charge. The gunny was under the lieutenant's charge. And this, this little period lasted maybe 2-3 months of the time that we were over there. And the lieutenant, kind of didn't, know how to get some things done, and not a knock, it's just reality. And, we expected the gunny to, kind of check and say the right things, do the right things, so that we could be efficient, effective, and do our job. And he didn't. And so, I went to him and I was like, hey, gunny, and blah, 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 all the colorful language that we use as Marines to get our point across. And the gunny said to me, Sergeant Metcalf, the last thing I need is a bad fitness report in a combat environment. And so, basically saying, I'm more concerned about my next promotion than I am about making sure we do what we need to do here with these Scud missiles flying over our heads and Patriot batteries firing up. And, and I shared with him my most deep and intimate feelings about how worthless I thought he was at that particular moment to be concerned about his fitness report instead of the mission, which is the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters. Mission, taking care of your people. Mission, taking care of your people. That's just the way we do it. And so, worthless gunny, he will never be anything more than a worthless gunny to me. I'm not talking about him as a human or as an individual, but as a gunnery sergeant of Marines, absolutely worthless, because he was thinking selfishly about his career afterwards and not the mission while we were there in Desert Storm. So I say that to say, politicians, this is an election year. If you're thinking about election, if you're thinking about how you're going to look coming out on the other side of this, you suck at life. Do something else. Get the job done. Take care of our communities. So let me say this, and we're gonna wrap it up because I was late. I'm not gonna make Sydney stay here for another 30 minutes. But here's what I'm gonna say. We have an opportunity. In every situation, we have an opportunity. In every crisis, we have an opportunity. And everything that causes us to take a little bit more time. Many of us now, and I know that this has created a tremendous amount of stress. I'm going to leave here today, and everything that I'm going to deal with for the rest of the day is going to be based on a problem that either this situation or something else or my car accident has caused. Pretty much everything on my agenda is as a result of something that I didn't plan and isn't great. But I still have an opportunity. I still have an opportunity to spend more time with the people I care about, to have more conversation that matters, to do the things that if this continues to go in this direction, we're going to get to the point that that's all we can do. San Francisco, Northern California, 24-hour lockdown for 3 weeks. Only leave the house for essential things. Food, medical, essential work, and I think there was one other thing. So guess what? Opportunity, not crisis. That part is an opportunity to be in your home with the people you love, to think about what's important, to reset, to make plans, because there's a reality that this could change everything. This could reset everything. Our economy, our culture is not built for a lack of movement and a lack of engagement. We live in Plano, Frisco. There are 18 restaurants in every probably square mile that may possibly be closed within the next 48 hours. This is not what we're built for, but we have to decide the impact that it's going to have in the areas that matter most. So take some time, think about that. Think about everybody that matters most. And you know what? This is a great time to spend some time maybe patching up some bad conversations, some people that you're not speaking to, some, fights that happened over the holidays and you haven't spoken since then because of what someone said at the Christmas party or whatever. This may be a good time to say, you know what? You know what really matters? is we have people that we love, people that matter, people that we can connect to. Because, again, we may need each other a whole lot more than we realized 2 weeks from now. I mean, here's the reality, man. I mean, we could be growing crops in our backyards. We can, we got this oil thing happening. So much is going on. Think about what's important. Think about the people you love. Take advantage of the opportunity to slow life down a little bit. To not focus on all the different aspects of entertainment. Since we're going to be in the house, turn the TV off. Think, sing, talk, tell jokes. My son, he's 5. He loves to tell jokes. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. That's his favorite one. It's his favorite one, and he'll tell it over and over and over again. And then he'll, keep going. What do you call a fish with no teeth? A gummy fish. He just, he's on a roll. Be here all week. Tip your waitresses. So listen, this is Urshel. Urshel Speaks. We have an opportunity in the middle of this very uncertain circumstance. Let's not just make the best of it. Let's make it amazing. Let's make it amazing. Let's wear out the internet with FaceTime and conferences, and let's do family dinners, and instead of taking pictures of your food at a restaurant, record some family dinners, and then you have something to look at later, when your kids are older, not just the pictures and the snaps of everything else. Take some videos of sitting down and having family dinner. Every day can be like Thanksgiving right now, as far as talking about what we're thankful about, what we have, and what matters to us. Listen, my name is Urshel. This is Urshel Speaks. We're dealing with the coronavirus. We're dealing with, the reality of our life being impacted by this. Here's what I'll say. Decide what impact you're going to have. You have no control over the impact of the coronavirus. Decide what impact you are going to have, what changes you're going to make. And let's come out of this however we come out as a community, as a nation. Let's come out of this with better people, better families. Read a book, man. All right. My name is Urshel. This is Urshel Speaks. We'll see you next week.